Tune in to the Diva Hustle Show.
Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in to the Diva Hustle Show. Today, our guest is Vanessa. She's the founder and CEO of Lava. Thank you, Vanessa, for joining us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Can you share with us the inspiration behind starting Lava and what was the positive changes in how women experience motherhood?
Absolutely. So I have a 6.5-year-old now, but when he was a baby, I was shocked at how difficult it was to become a mom and to really that transition to motherhood. I was fortunate in that, my pregnancy was fairly straightforward and easy and the delivery was easy, but everything changed once he got here. So I had a really hard time with breastfeeding him. He wasn't gaining weight. It was the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I thought it was supposed to be natural and easy. And I had, read books and I had a doula do the education session with me, but the reality was so different from what I expected. And the way I processed that was really hard because I tend to be a perfectionist and really like to, have control of things. And this was, I couldn't control it. It was anything but perfect. So it was really challenging. And that moment was really where I felt like, gosh, women deserve better. We need to understand what's going to happen to us before it happens. And we need to be able to make better decisions, I think, with better information. So it's hard to make a great decision if you don't have all the details.
Right.
And, then everyone jokes about, you have children, so this, but like everyone jokes when you're pregnant, sleep now, right? Enjoy your sleep because you won't sleep when the baby's here. And it sounds really funny until you actually have your baby.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, I get why they were saying that. And I'm also angry that they joked about it because it's not funny.
Yeah.
So all of those things are really kind of where Leva came from. And then in 2020, when everyone was sent home because of COVID rampaging the world, we had a baby boom and a bunch of my friends became pregnant. And it was that I was like, I've got to do something because I can't sit by and let people have a shitty experience like I had. I can do better, deserve better. So that's where Leva came from. And what we focus on now, it's truly this holistic experience around becoming a mother. The reality is, like, in the United States, we have the worst maternal death rate of any developed nation. 80% of those deaths are preventable. A lot of deaths increasingly are due to mental health issues and women are driven to suicide. So there's a lot of things that if we can intervene and understand what's happening, we can do a lot of good in the world.
Right.
And then you think about Black women, I mean, they are 3 times more likely to die in childbirth, and it's just not acceptable. So those are the outcomes we're looking to change. And we've been around for a couple of years, but this big product that we've put into market, it really has only been out for a year. And so we've started partnering with, we direct to consumer, but we also partner with businesses to support the women in their companies. 53% of the time, a mom will leave her job after having a baby. And obviously we don't want to see that. So we're really focused on coaching them with career, with mental health, with lactation support, and giving them the tools they need to be healthy and happy.
So walk me through, like, if a company was to reach out and say, hey, we want to partner with you guys, we want to work with some of the women. What are some of the things that y'all go in and start working with that company about?
Yeah, great question. So we do a couple different things. Primarily, we understand how many expecting parents they're going to have in that year. We onboard them really seamlessly so they have access to the app and they have a wallet of money to spend on any sort of support they want. And we really partner closely with HR to make sure that the HR leaders have the information they need and that they have their people set up for success. And then we partner with the management team so that they have the training that they need to give the employees a good experience, because a lot of times the HR folks, they don't have the bandwidth for that. And the managers are not at all trained to understand like how parental leave is going to affect the parent. So we train them, and then we really focus on making sure that the parent, and in this case, mostly it's the mother, are getting the support they need. So we have a whole timeline that we use that, we check, nutrition and fitness, mental health, lactation, with the doula support now, it's available like really throughout the entire pregnancy and postpartum. So we have touch points throughout the entire, I would say like 20 months of pregnancy and postpartum where you're getting a ton of human support. And then you also can go into the app and get all of your questions answered if you're looking for tips around breastfeeding or introducing foods to your baby. We have articles and videos that cover all of that. And we also have mindfulness meditations. So it really helps with postpartum anxiety and depression.
And so I understand your background is in product management and design, right? So how have you used these skills to challenge the status quo and bring innovation solutions to the areas of motherhood and work-life balance?
Well, it's a passion. It's a passion. I mean, and honestly, like I'm a total nerd anyway. So I love data. I love research. So I have done a lot of quantitative and qualitative research. So doing studies to understand what moms are looking for and need, and then doing a lot of interviews with moms and HR leaders to find out like where do they feel there are gaps that we can support them better. So really looking at things that way. And then in our platform, everything is tagged and tracked, so we can understand how often are users going into the platform, what are they doing, what kind of content are they looking at, and really optimizing around those experiences.
Can you share with us a success story where Lava has changed, like a mom that's working, and how the organization also grew from working with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of different things that come to mind. They're more anecdotal, but we had a lady that wrote to us that had a career coaching session with our, life and career coach, and she's a director in HR. Not one of the people that we directly work with, but on the team. And her feedback was just that the coaching was exactly what she was looking for.
Okay.
And she said, I am a new mom and transitioning into that has been difficult. And I don't feel comfortable talking to my employer about it. But having this resource where I can ask all of these tough questions and have conversations that I wouldn't feel comfortable having with those people, being in a safe space and talking to somebody that's been through it and that understands it was hugely helpful for her. And she was able to put a plan in place that kept her feeling like her career was on track.
Wow.
And we've also had a mom that was really struggling with breastfeeding. And she worked with our lactation coach a couple of times to get the latch right. And the baby went from being underweight to being on target and having rolls of fat and things like that. So she was super excited about the ability to kind of feed her baby more the way that she wanted to. And she was looking forward to going to the pediatrician and sharing that with them. So those are some of the ways. And then we also, one of our clients, we only have a handful of clients now since we're fairly new, but one of our clients is really excited about how we're supporting the moms on their team, and they're continuously adding as they have pregnant women, as they've learned that their parents are pregnant, they're continuously adding them to our platform. And they've asked us recently to actually do a podcast with them. So we're going to do a podcast with a client next month. So that's super exciting.
I love that. I love the platform. I love the idea, because even me, when I first had my first child, once I worked in security, and once I told them I was pregnant, I might have been like, what, 8 weeks. They were like, "Oh, okay, you have to leave."
Are you serious?
Yes.
Paris, I unfortunately have heard stories like that way more than I care to even admit.
Yes.
Like, how did you handle that? If you don't mind me asking, how did you handle that?
So because we were union, I had this stressful pregnancy because of constantly fighting for my job. And I wasn't just the only one. There was another young lady that was pregnant as well. We didn't have uniforms when we was pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
I just constantly had to keep filing charges, like going to the labor board and filing charges. But this conversation needs to be brought to the forefront, because it's happening a lot that we know.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they told you that you were going to have to leave because you're pregnant.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't have been that long ago, like within the last, 10 years?
My son, he's 15, so it's been a
Okay.
while. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But it's still like, that's modern.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but thank you for doing what you're doing, because you have a platform, a voice, and you told me as we were starting this that you're really into women empowerment and female empowerment. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But definitely working with employers, just being able to educate them, because again, we are women, we're in the workforce, and yes, we have kids. We're going to have kids. That's part of what we're here for. And I think that they're uneducated and not sympathy. There's no sympathy when it comes to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's really unfortunate. It really depends on the human, and are they a good human? Of course, I'm like, are you a good human or are you not a good human? There's a spectrum, and everyone has different lived experiences. But what I feel like is so sad is, women should be helping other women. And then there are women that have created a great career for themselves, but they've kind of had to struggle,
Right.
So they didn't take time off with their kids. They didn't, breastfeed their kids. They didn't look after their own health, and they just, pulled themselves up by their own grit, but
Right.
then they kind of have this impression that like, well, if I did it, everyone else should do it. And it's like, well, just because you did it doesn't mean that's the right thing or you should have had to.
Yeah.
Let's make this whole experience in society better
Yeah.
than it was for you. Like now that you're in this position of power, let's help each other instead of feeling like, oh, I did it, so you should have to. And I
Yeah.
encounter both a lot. I encounter a lot of women that are like, well, I had to do it, so you should have to do it. But thankfully, there are a lot of other women and men that see the world differently and want to make it better. So
Yeah, and I feel like that's a bad way of looking at, like, if I did it, you have to do it, because it's not supposed to be stressful. Pregnancy is, it's supposed to be a moment. You're carrying another human. So, you know what I mean? It's not supposed to be.
yeah, it should be beautiful.
Right. So what trends do you see in the future of technology, work culture, motherhood support in the coming years?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a good question. On the technology front, I mean, we're seeing a huge trend with generative AI and artificial intelligence in general. So I think for us, we'll see what that means. But what we're working on, and it's not going to be out anytime real soon. It'll be down the road, but we're working on how can we leverage the power of artificial intelligence to provide answers more immediately for moms. So if they're searching for something, rather than, they search now, they find content, they go to the article. How do we make that more conversational and test that out? That's one thing. And then the other, I would say, we have a pretty robust data set. So we know, how often our mom is pumping or breastfeeding, how many diapers our baby's having. And so being able to leverage that data to help optimize the experience for the mom and give them recommendations around like, here's what your schedule should be. And here's what we would expect your baby to be doing. And if they're off track, really alerting them.
Okay.
So those are the AI things that we're thinking of. But I think AI in general is eating the world. And so it'll be very fascinating to kind of see and stay on top of how that evolves. Like every single day, I feel like I'm learning a new AI tool that's come out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Especially in your world around like podcasts and
Yeah.
videos, there's so much super cool.
It's so cool. Yeah.
On the workplace front, like there is, we'll see. I think it's interesting to see what's happening in our society at the moment with like Roe versus Wade getting overturned and a lot of just civil rights, kind of coming into question. So hopefully we don't continue to backslide as a society. I'll just say that that's my opinion.
Right.
What we have seen that's really positive is we've seen a lot more interest from employers in supporting parents on their teams, men and women. And so like a huge focus in the last, 5 to 10 years on fertility and making sure that because there's been like a downward trend in fertility and childbirths in general. I mean, COVID ramped it back up, but the ability to really have a baby has been a struggle for people. So there's been a massive interest in the fertility space recently in the last couple of years, maybe even the last year, huge uptick in interest in menopause and supporting women as they go through menopause, which I think is fabulous because 51% of the population will experience that.
Right.
Where I think, as I speak with experts that are in this benefits space, a lot of them are saying, well, there was a massive swing towards fertility, but what hasn't really been a focus is postpartum. So, you're pregnant, but then the baby's here, hasn't been as much focus. So they're starting to see employers become really interested in postpartum and try to help women now that they've had the baby. So that's exciting because it's something that I think has just generally been ignored.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is also why we're trying to fix that problem. But it's nice to know that employers are also really realizing that it's something they can help with.
It's funny because I saw online Serena Williams and she was dealing with postpartum.
Yes.
And when I was reading the comments, because she said today is not a good day for me, meaning she, and that's normal, you know what I mean? And I think people think that we as women, we're robots.
Right.
So the comments just was like, oh my God, like instead of just encouraging her or saying positive, like some was positive, some was negative, but like you're saying, the postpartum is real.
Yeah, it is. And that's a really interesting balance too, because I think a lot of what our focus has been is really that postpartum space because it's such a struggle, it's a struggle physically, emotionally, mentally, your entire who you are as a human changes. Like, and people don't prepare for that because when you're pregnant, it's so exciting because you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen on the other side of that pregnancy, right? You're just excited about the baby and it's amazing and you should be. But it's an interesting balance because as soon as that baby is there, then it really makes it hard. So
It does. It does. What challenges have you incurred starting Lava, and how did you overcome them?
There's so many. I'm sure you've gone through this, right? Like, it seems like they change all the time. Gosh, I think, I think you have to be a special kind of crazy to start a business. You have to have a lot of confidence and a real passion for what you're doing. And I think it's like the emotional side of it has been the hardest part. The emotional side of like picking yourself up and leaning on other people. And to your point about Serena saying like, it's not a good day. Like as a human, it's not a good day, right? There are a lot of not good days or not good moments. We've struggled with like first, getting our app to be bug free. That was hard.
Yeah.
Raising awareness has been challenging. We hired, we did a huge outbound email campaign, not realizing that you can damage your domain by doing that. And we did. And we saw, SEO traffic drop off. We're like, okay, got to fix that. It's just everything's constant learning and you're not an expert in everything. And I think it's been a very humbling experience because, like you kind of feel like, oh, I'm really good at these things. I've been in product, I've been in digital, like I'm a good technologist. I'm really good at this stuff. And that's awesome. But starting a company, like there's so many more things that you have to do. That's not your sweet spot. So it's been a very educational and challenging experience in many ways.
And where do you see Lava in 5 years from now?
I would really hopefully we're in a lot more businesses supporting a lot more women. I would really love us to have, I guess in 5 years, I would like for us to be a B Corp. So we're giving back a percentage of all profits to charities that need it and that we're funding support for women that can't afford it and that we're really helping make a meaningful difference in that way, as well as being financially solvent. Right now we're operating, we have revenue, but we're still not profitable. We're not break even. I would like for us to be on that other side of that journey and then building out products across women's life journeys so that we're helping them in many different ways.
Oh, I love that. And I wish you the best.
Thank you.
And if people want to get in contact with you and want to work with you, what's the best way of getting in contact with you?
Yes, our website is www.levaapp.com, and you can find us on every social media platform, essentially. Like LinkedIn is a great place to come. So, yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you for joining us. And anytime you want to come back and talk about women empowerment, pregnancy, postpartum, you're always welcome to come back.
Thank you, Paris. This is awesome. It's so nice to meet you.
You too, as well.
Tune in to the Diva Hot Show. Motivate the glow. We get you more info. Sleep to my head to toe. I let the whole world know. I let the whole world know.